I dread the monthly periods nowadays. They will start commenting. So Ambika is confiding these things to her husband Jagan in their privacy. So it shows that Ambika is really concerned about her menstruation, and she's a little bit kind of dread means kind of little scared. So Jagan responds, "Why don't you pretend as some modern girls do that you are not in the month? Pretend that you are not having your periods. That's it." But that was a frivolous suggestion. That's a joke, right? You can't pretend it. It's a kind of a biological thing. How can you run away from biological thing and just to pretend, right? It didn't happen. Anyway, it happens, right? Uh, so you are, yeah, but it was a frivolous suggestion. It was a kind of a joking, in a joking way, just pretending like he's a man. He doesn't know the pains and the uncomforts, discomfiture, and the things associated with this. Uh, in an Orthodox household, with all the pujas and gods, menstruating woman had to isolate herself as the emanation from her person was supposed to create a sort of magnetic defilement. There you go. It's a sort of belief systems. Uh, so this is a Hindu family, and even Ambika, once she's undergoing this menstruation and everything, has to isolate herself for a while because she was not allowed. She was not. It was not permitted. Even she is the daughter-in-law of this house, just to go to the puja room, or just associate around the puja room because it's a sacred place, and it can be defiled. It can be polluted if she walks during this period to that particular place. That was the kind of idea. It's a kind of magnetic defilement, means there's kind of a this is called metaphysical thoughts, right? I mean, like there is no kind of a scientific proof or anything regarding these kind of beliefs. Every society has its kind of certain beliefs. Sometimes it's kind of ridiculous belief for this extent, right? If you think about even in our context, now forget you can simply laugh at this, since it's a post-colonial time, and it was somewhere around 1960s. But forget this context. If we just focus in our context, let's come to our situation. Even in some places in this country, still there's the idea still prevails, like when a woman, like a woman menstruate, right? This kind of defilement is associated with it. Like how ridiculous these ideas is something else. But have you heard the word in Sinhala called kili? Kili හොයනවා කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? මෙන්න මේ වගේ දෙයක් මේ කිලි හොයන ගොඩක් දේවල් තියෙනවා. But they consider this situation as well as another instance where this kind of defilement is associated with, right? So these are kind of obsolete, ridiculous ideas. Anyway, and for 3 days she was fed in far off corner of the house. There you go. 3 days after this natural biological occurrence, she was fed off in a far corner. She's not allowed to travel freely in the house, even unable to move about freely. Jacob was very irritated and cried, and with the idea, with this revelation about the mother's complaint that she's unhappy, she doesn't have grandchildren, Jagan got angry. And he said, "Are they not satiated with children? Are they not satisfied with children? My brother has provided enough children for several houses and my sister has begun in the true tradition with 3 children in 4 years." His words are, he's angry. Jagan is angry and he's replying this, but for the reader it creates humor, right? It's the difference between tone and mood. Uh, so Jagan adds, isn't my mother like satisfied? Aren't they satisfied? Look to my brother. How many children does he have? And then my sister, married 4 years, have 3 children, following the true tradition with three children, right? I mean, like That's that's a tradition. The women folk must bear children, right? ඒක නිකන් මේ දරුවෝ හම්බ වෙන මැෂිමක් වගේ දැන් මේක. ඒක තමයි බලාපොරොත්තු, right? When it's women, when a certain woman doesn't fit into this mold, there are problems. That's what Ambika is facing, right? So that's how Jagan respond to this. Why can't they satisfy with affairs as they are now? Well, like, so what's their problem? What's my parents' problem? What's my mother's problem? Can't she be satisfied with things right now as they are? We are happy. So why can't they just accept it? The girl replies, because your mother would have nothing to comment on if we had a child. Ambika suggested, yeah, let's have a child together. So then your mother has nothing to say about it. Ambika suggested, then mumbled, and then said in a very incoherent, in a kind of a low tone way, as far as our family is concerned, all my sisters have many children, and your mother's insinuation that I am infertile. She goes on telling, right? She mumbles, she doesn't say it loudly, but in a low tone, she says that, yeah, my family, all sisters have children, and your mother thinks I am infertile. I can't bear children. That's what your mother thinks. Now that has a like a double-edged knife, right? It's a catch-22 situation. It's a paradox here. Okay, if right, they can't have a child. That's the issue. If Ambika says their family is not infertile, their sisters, her sisters can have children, and your mother says that I am for infertile, means I can't bear children, then the problem goes on to Jagan's, right? Jagan's side. I mean, there should be a problem with Jagan's productivity, fertility, fecundity. So that's something to think, right? And Jagan at once rushed to the defense of his own family, defense of his own family. And there, Jagan immediately said, no, right? He defended his family. On our side too, there can be no misgiving. Yeah, our side also there are no doubts. They are fertile. Do you know there is a group photo in my grandmother at the center of all her children and grandchildren? And do you know how many heads you can count? There's a big photo. Can you remember? Do you know there is a group photo of my grandfather at the center of all her children and grandchildren? Grandmother is in the center, and all the grandchildren and children are in that photo. Can you guess how many people are in that photo? Jagan asked from Ambika, just to defend his position, right? They are also, their family is also fertile. 40? 50? Asked Ambika. We also have a group photo in our house. Ambika also says that. We also have a group photo in our house with our grandmother. Do you know how many children and grandchildren, great grandchildren there are? Ask Ambika from Jagan. The same question, right? I mean, like it's a tradition now, it seems. Every household, if there are grandparents, have to take a photograph with their children and grandchildren, maybe displaying, right? How productive they are, like how they have contributed to the humanity in a way, right? By increasing the population. Located තවන්ගේ දායකත්වය පෙන්වන photograph එකක්, right? Grandchildren there. 120? Asked Jagan mischievously. 120? Just like for joking, right? Just he's also provocative. He has a way of joking and just making this girl angry sometimes. The wife replied, no, don't try to joke about it. 103. 103. Seriously, not a joke. 103. And the photographer, it seems, charged 4 times his usual price. He charged 4 times his usual price for this photograph. Why, he has to do a lot of work, right? Maybe imagine just like keeping these children and grandchildren in a one photograph is a hard task. So he had charged 4 times. Now imagine then how hard it would be to having this wedding photograph with all that 3,000 guests. Anyway, charge 4 times his usual price, says Ambika, right? She was reddening under her skin, means she's getting a little angry now with Jagan, reddening and embarrassment as well, reddening under skin. Her temper was slightly rising as she said, she's a little angry now, right? එන්න බවට මේක කියව කියන්න අපේ මේ පවුලේ අපේ 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 අම්මලා තාත්තලාට හොඳට ළමයි ඉන්න හොඳට හොඳ ලොකු පවුලක් අපි, right? Just like in other words, right? Raising, she said, we are not an important family. There you go. Don't think that our family members can't bear children. They have bear children. I mean, like in such a succession, right? Unless you can't have 103 family members, right? Children and grandchildren. What achievement it is. Probably it was there nothing called a Guinness record on those days, right? Unless this could easily go to the Guinness record as well. Jagan was irked by his suggestion. Jagan was a little angry. Jagan was a little annoyed, little irritated, irked by her suggestion, and looked up from his book with consternation. And he just paid attention, right? Forget this, what this woman says, right? Rubbish. And he looked up his book. He concentrated on the book with consternation, mean dismay, kind of alarm, kind of unhappiness, consternation. He had no answer to give. Jagan had no answer to give to Ambika. So now there's a problem. Jagan, according to his family background, is not infertile. Ambika, according to her family and the sister's productivity, seems not infertile. They are all healthy. So then where is the problem? He had no answer to give. His devotion to the bed had unconsciously diminished lately. I mean, this, on the beginning, we found he is always devoted to love making, right? Always wanted Ambika's company. And now that 10 years passed, right? And that love has diminished, that desire has diminished, right? That's natural when you see the same thing over and over again. The lust, even lust, kind of diminish. Lately, thinking it over, he recollected how often he rolled up the carpet, took a pillow, and went out to sleep on the veranda, grumbling about the heat. And sometimes Jagan doesn't even want to sleep in the room itself. He says the room is hot and just go out, taking the carpet, pillow, and went to sleep on the veranda. He went to the open area, just to, and grumbling means complaining, whining about the heat. It is getting to be very hot here. Shall I sleep on the veranda? Maybe Jagan is asking from Ambika. Would you be afraid? Are you afraid, Ambika? Ask Jagan, right? Are you okay if I'm just sleeping out? Will you be afraid just to sleep alone? Afraid of what? Ambika would ask jokingly at first. Yeah, afraid of what? But gradually, later on, now this has become a habit now for Jagan, like sleeping outside. So now he's not that interested in love making, it seems, right? Afraid of what? Ambika would ask jokingly at first, but gradually, as time went by with irritation, now this response is he's become irritated as well. Why is this guy just always going outside just to sleep, right? He hardly noticed her mood and went out chancelet. Jagan was sometimes very insensitive and indifferent to Ambika's responses. This is the important part, right? As a married couple, they should stay together. If husband is sleeping somewhere else, the wife is sleeping somewhere else in the same house, that indicates that their kind of attraction, their kind of a physical attraction is diminished. This had become a more or less permanent arrangement, except for when she returned after long absence from her father's house, when he would give her passionate attention for a week running, hardly worrying about whether he was adequate. I mean, Now, this is the natural way of Jagan responding to these issues, right? He's sleeping outside. But things change. Sometimes Ambika goes to her Kupam village house, and there she stays like few months. There's a long absence sometimes. Uh, she stays there for a while, and then sometimes she come back to Jagan's house, her father's house. When they would give her, and when she comes, what happens? Just Jagan go outside and sleep? No. After long absence from her father's house, when he would give her passionate attention for a week running, he's like for 1 week making love to Ambika, right? His then he feels a need, a desire to engage in these activities, right? Father's house, when he would give her passionate attention for a week running, hardly worrying about whether he was adequate. It was a question that he never at any time asked himself or his wife. And he was so attached to Ambika. There's this line says, hardly worrying about whether he was adequate means, I mean, like, was he performing up to the manly standards? He's not worried about those things, right? Uh, and it was a question that he never at time asked himself or his wife. That was kind of a secret question he was not asking, like, am I enough for you? Are you satisfied with me? I like, are you satisfied? Are you having good time with me? It's like this kind of intimate talk is essential. You can't be just doing your duty and just වැඩේ කරලා ඉවරනවා අනිත් පැත්ත බලාගෙන ඉඳාගන්න බෑනේ. It's not nice. It's not a way of it's a very mutual way of exchange, right? You have to be very emotionally connected. So this part is missing in Jagan. That's what it says indirectly. I mean, like the emotional closeness, what you call the intimacy, is missing. Right? That's how we understand it. And he felt fatigued by all the apparatus of sex, its promises and its futility, the sadness and sweat at the end of it all, and he assumed that his wife shared his outlook. I mean, like lately, this guy is getting tired of his activity. He felt fatigued means he felt tired by the whole apparatus of the sex. I mean, like all this activity engaging, like he has to sit. I mean, it doesn't automatically happens, right? In certain species, the certain fish, when they see the female, right? The female sees the male, and just make some circles around it. The female is get pregnant. Certain, in the animal world, there are certain this mating rituals. The mating ways are very varied, right? And there are certain spiders. The male spider has to, go around the female, and once the female is pregnant, the female eats the male, devours. Right? Certain scary aspects are there as well, right? And anyway, what I wanted to say is like some animals has a way of like not fatiguing themselves just to get pregnant, but it's not the way it works with humans, right? Humans have to work it out. There's some kind of activity, right, associated. Now he's getting tired of this activity. I don't have to explain you, right? uh, its promises and its futility. I mean, like, it promises to be very tasty, it promises to be very enjoyable, but after a while it's not that enjoyable, right? All the fun is gone now. It's like futile, it's like useless material. The sadness and the sweat at the end of it all. Sadness means like, once the orgasm, maybe like he may thinks like, what's the purpose of all this? Such a joke, right? Why I have to work this hard for this kind of an end, right? And the sweat, I mean, like he's sweating after the activity, just like it's a workout, right? Imagine it's like a gym activity, right? Uh, there's like a lot of workouts, right? And at the end, what's this? What's the purpose of all this? He's getting tired. The initial enjoyment is gone. ඉස්සර නම් බඹර වගේනේ. ඉස්සර බඹරා වගේ ඉස්සර මත් වෙලාමයි ඉන්නේ. දැන් දැන් එක දෙබර වගේ, right? Just like, I mean, it has lost its. It's no enjoyment there, right? You know, bees make honey. What does wasp makes? Nothing, right? In the same way, right? That's the metaphor. The idea is that he felt like wife is also, this is a kind of boring activity, not interesting anymore. Moreover, he had read a book that nature had never meant sex to be anything more than means of propagation of the species, that one drop of white blood was equal to 40 drops of red blood, and that seminal waste and nervous exhaustion reduce one's longevity, the essence of all achievement being celibacy and conservation. There you go. Now, because he's tired of these activities, he has formed up a theory. He has read in somewhere in nature book, in a kind of a book, right? Uh, Book that nature, in some kind, when it comes to sexuality, different people have different attitudes towards. Maybe some are true ideas, maybe some are ridiculously funny ideas. I mean, like, so in some kind of a text, a book, he has found this idea that sexuality, the meaning of sexuality is to create, is to make offspring, nothing else. More than means of propagation of the species. The aim of sexuality is that. And that's a problematic statement as well. Before I go to the next part, I have to explain that too a little bit. You should know these things. Human sexuality is very different from animal sexuality. How? Animals have this heat. We call it heat. They can't control it. It's a natural instinct. It's a natural way nature have control on animals. Yes, sexuality, one aspect of sexuality is the propagation of species. Correct. That's why animals are sometimes under this autopilot mode. I mean, like, it's like someone is controlling the animals, kind of natural force. They are under natural force. ඒකනේ පූස් තඩියෙම රෑට කෑ ගහන්නේ කනක් ඇහිලෙන්න නෑ. පූස රෑට සංගීත සංදර්ශන. ඉතින් මොකද වෙන්නේ? නිින්ද කැඩෙනවා. මිනිස්සු ගඩොල් වලින් සලකනවා ඊට පස්සේ. ගඩොල් එන්නේ උටින් ඩොං ගාලා යනවා නිකන් මේ මිසයිල් වගේ ගිහිල්ලා වැටෙනවා. කෑ ගහගෙන දුවනවා. Why? They can't control it. They are under the heat. Because nature wants them to procreate. But when it comes to human sexuality, it's never like that. We don't get that heat. අපිට heat වෙනවද එහෙම? මේ heat වෙනවා නම් හරි සෙන්ලමක් වෙන්නේ. ඥාන කට්ටිය පිරිමි කට්ටිය පස්සේ දුවලා එනවා. ඒ පිරිමි කට්ටිය ඥාන පස්සේ කට්ටිය පස්සේ එක සීසන් එකකට එක කාලයකට මේ හඳ මෝදු වෙන කාලෙට පිස්සුවෙන් වගේ ඥාන මිනිස්සු පිටිපස්ස duvala, I think, are pusovage, just like they will just, or just like this animals, right? They will, but copulate, but it never happens. That intercourse never happens because we have fantasy. We have a mind. We speak words, and we have a mind. As such, we have fantasies. Not, I mean, like, our sexuality differentiates. We don't fall in love with everyone that we see. We don't desire everyone that we see. Not that a man desire all women. No, it doesn't happen like that way. Some men hate certain kind of women and love certain kind of women. There's a kind of a mechanism here. So it's not in this autopilot kind of mode. Human sexuality is different, right? That's what I want to say. So, as another fact is that human sexuality is not about reproduction as well. Human sexuality is about enjoyment. Lot of activities in human sexuality, like kissing, touching, caressing, are about enjoyment. දැන් ඔය පූසෙන් කිස් කරන හැම දැකලා තියෙනවද කොහෙද? එහෙම නැහැනේ. Why? For them, it doesn't matter anything. For them, it's not about enjoyment, it's about activity to procreate. That's how human sexuality differs from animal sexuality. For us, it's a kind of enjoyment, right? You learn these things extensively when you go for higher education. You get a chance to, as I explained previously, just to get and study these things in humanities, you'll get a deep outlook. So that's the one false idea here. I want to review. I want to refute. So human sexuality is not about procreation at all, right? If someone says it, there's a huge error there. Rectify it. But anyway, that's what Jagan thinks now. He's tired. All this time he was enjoying, right? He was all this time he was enjoying. Now he thinks like the purpose of sexuality is procreation. Uh, and what else? He thinks like one drop of white blood was equal to 40 drops of red blood. So you know uh, this male semen, the color in color it's white. So Jagan feels like, right, just this transformation, this blood cells has to transform into something white. So it's like a kind of a exchange here. Exchange ratio is kind of proportionally uh, large, like 40 red blood cells has to become one white blood cell something, right? Was equal to 40 drops of red blood, and the seminal waves and nervous exhaustion reduce one's longevity. So in other words, when you are when they are exchange, I mean, like when they are making love, the seminal waste means like once he ejaculate, right, he's actually burning blood. කියන්නේ ගොඩක් petrol waste නෝගේ වැඩක් මේක, right, for him. In other words, right, in other words, what happens is you are depleting your red blood cells, which is a lie again. Red blood cells has nothing to do with, I mean, this seminal fluids and everything. It is made in male testicle, right? It's a totally different biological process. If you are not, I mean, like when now you are young adults, right? If you are not engaging in these activities, if it's not naturally depleted, what happens is it become overloaded sometimes, and dreams come to you, and in your dreams you get this natural discharge sometimes. That's how the body just get rid of it. The body maintains its balance, right? So these all are false theories. Anyway, so Jagan thinks like the ones the more one doesn't engage in sexual activity, the more they live. It longevity means long life. We call it in Sinhala anagarika කියලා කියන්නේ. Anagarika dharmapalatuма. So why is anagarika? Means he is not engaging in any kind of a sexual activity with a woman. That's why he call it. Even monks are supposed to abstain from these things. Uh, but the thing is, what modern science says, it doesn't make a difference. The more sexuality is a healthy thing, right? It doesn't have it. I mean, like this is a wrong idea. But anyway, Jagan supports his reluctance to engage in this activity with these kind of ideas, right? Which are essentially false. Essence of all achievement being celibacy and conversation. Celibacy means being lonely. I explained it, right? And conversation means not engaging in this act and wasting your seminal fluid. It had become imperative for him to produce a child. Now it was imperative means it has become a duty, essential duty for Jagan to produce a child, right? It's essential now. And he didn't know what more he could do about it. But Jagan didn't know, like, how can he get a child? He didn't know what to do about it. Ambika herself was beginning to crave one. As a woman now, has spent some time with Jagan, like 10 years has passed. Ambika wants a son as well. Ambika wants a child as well. Right? Crave one. He had to do something about it. Now Jagan has to come up with the means of having a child, right? They have to discuss about it. So what to do? She sulked and blamed him with her looks. She sulked means brooded, be in a huff, display one's displeasure, right? Sulk and blamed him with her looks, not by words but looks, right? Something like that. I will not go into depth of that, right? When she saw him rolling his carpet, and now Jagan has this habit, right? Rolling the carpet and going outside and sleeping on the context. It's hot carpet. She rather said bitterly. She says something, this caustic, vitriolic kind of remarks. Why don't you go up and sleep at the foot of Lowly statue? Or Lowly statue එක තියෙන්නේ. ඒ එතන ගිහින් දාගන්න කර ෆුට් එකේ. Statue එක ළඟ එතන හොඳට උලන් වදිනවා සැපයි නතන්ට වඩා. Right? Bitterly. Why don't you go and sleep at the foot of Lowly statue? It must be cooler there. It's even cooler than here. It's cooler there. හොඳට උලන් ඇතිවදී නිදාගන්න පුළුවන්. Right? When she taunted him thus, taunted means torture, right? Write down. Taunted means aggravation by deriding. It's like joking, mocking, criticizing in a funny way, right? When she taunted him thus, right? Just like they have these sharp tongues, right? They become just like scourges sometimes, right? They have this ability. Now she's turned to a kind of a witty wife, has a way with her words, and when they said these times, she taunts Jacob, right? And he felt extremely confused and attempted to joke off with. And Jacob felt uncomfortable, right, when Ambika says these things. And he felt little hurt, his pride is little hurt, and felt little confused and said immediately, that statue was not built for us to sleep on. Says Jacob to Ambika, right? He's saying witty answers, right? When even he was uttering, it sounded extremely silly on his own ears. I mean, like that kind of remarks are stupid remarks, dry jokes. And it even sounded very bad in Jagan's ears. Jagan is confused and he want to joke and say those things. Say same thing, right? Sometimes when someone is joking us, we want to reply. And we reply. And we know like how stupid the answer is. අපිටම ලැජ්ජයි අපි කියපු දෙයට. මොකද ඒක හරි ගොන්ජෝක්. අපිම දන්නවා ඒක මහා ගොන්ජෝක්යක්. Right? It's not enough joke just to counterbalance the argument or counterbalance the insult. Now, Jagan is stuck here, right? Jagan is kind of defeated. And Jagan's own ears are just not accepting it as a funny or humorous remark, which even he was uttering of sound extremely silly in his own ears. When she taunted him further, Ambika taunted him further. Ambika is joking him further with these things at the situations. He would put the light, when she turned to him, he would put the light and pull her to the bed and roll about, imagining himself to be the sheikh. In the Hollywood film, in would Radolf Valentino demonstrated the art of ravishing people. So, Jayana තරහයි දැන් මේ ගෑණි කීක නන්න කතා කියනවා යන්න හදනකොට නන්න කතා කියනවා just like then Jagan feel like his manhood is kind of a decreased දැන් පෞරුෂයට ටිකක් මදි වගේ නිකන් සැලෙනවා. Just what he do, he just trying to be Superman here, right? And pull her to bed, just grab Ambika and just take her to bed, right? And pull her to bed like kind of a forceful love making. Just something, right? Just pull her to the bed and roll about, imagining himself to be the sheikh, right? He just making this act. Now he's making love, right? He's engaging in sexual activity, as in the Hollywood film where Radolf Valentino is a kind of a famous actor, demonstrated the art of ravishing woman. Ravishing woman means, now ravishing has so many meanings, right? The age-old kind of Greek meaning, of ravishing means can be much more threatening here. It's like actually the Greek meaning, etymology of this word has so many meanings. One etymology means the origin of the word. Says ravishing may be rape, but here it's not raping. The idea is like holding tight uh, and seizing and just like making engaging in this act, right? That's the idea here. So Radolf Valentino demonstrated the art of ravishing. So that's how Jagan responses. "Eh, kunu kataha yan daming ya miyar tarha gaya." He jumps to the bed just like Superman, right? And try to prove himself. In other words, like he tried to be Superman, right? And imagining, fantasizing, he is very good in this act. He has mastered the act of lovemaking, right? And his father suddenly said one morning, father immediately announces, "Next Tuesday we are going to the temple on Badri Hill. Get ready, next Tuesday we are going to the temple in Badri Hill." Father announced to Jacob, "Get ready. You are better apply for 2 days leave from your college. You have to take 2 days leave from your college, stop studies for 2 days. We are going to Badri Hill. Get ready. Your wife will also come. Ambika also has to come with us." When the father said anything so specific, there could be no discussion of the subject. I mean, still fathers are very authoritative. That's what you see, right? If a father says that, Jagan can't ask like, "Hey, Mogode, hey, Badril, then, hey," you can't ask those things. Tata ki hoti anke, young. And your wife will also come. When father said anything so specific, there could be no discussion on the subject. Now even Jagan is adult now. He can't ask cross questions. Huh? Jagan was about to leave for his college. Jagan wanted to go to the college at this moment particularly. His father, who was generally spent his time on the back garden, had come up to the middle part of the house to tell him this. So actually, this is a morning where Jagan was trying to go to college. Father has imparted or just given these details to Jagan. Get ready. Next Tuesday, we are going to Badri Hill. You have to apply 2 days holidays for your studies, which itself indicated the seriousness of the situation. Now, this is something serious. Why Badri? What's there on Badri? We find out later, right? Still, Jagan had the hardihood to ask. Still Jagan had the hardihood, means boldness, kind of daring. He sometimes asks these questions, right? Like he asked from father now, "Why are we going to that temple? Why are we going to Badri, that temple, special temple?" His father said, "This temple is known as Santana Krishna. Santana Krishna. A visit to it is the only known remedy for barrenness in woman." There you go. Father says, "This is a visit we make to the temple, so it will be a remedy for the barrenness in woman." If a barrenness means inability, infertility of a woman just to be conceived, is called barrenness. Right? We don't know whether it's barrenness of Ambika or Jagan, it's not clear, right? The temple is known as Santana Krishna. In Sinhala also, have you heard that word? Santana Manu. It's like Saint Krishna, right? In other words, Santana Manu means like saint, in other words, right? Same idea here. Saint Krishna. So we have to visit there. Uh, Jagan blushed. Jagan felt shy. Right? He wanted to assure his father of his wife fecundity. He wanted to make sure that he wanted to inform father about the wife. Ambika's fecundity means fertility, that she can bear children. And describe to him the group photo in the house with her grandmother and 103 others. And he wanted to even show that, see, Ambika's sisters are fertile. So Ambika is fertile. Don't say Ambika is barren. He wanted to say this to father and talk about that photograph. But he felt tongue tied. He couldn't speak. Those things you can't speak to the father. එහෙම වෙන්න කොහොමද තාත්තේ බලන්නකො අම්බිකාගේ නංගිලට අක්කලට ළමයි පඩිපෙල් වගේනේ. ඉතින් අම්බිකා එහෙම වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා තාත්තට කියන්න බෑනේ. Just like it's a Hindu family, right? It's hard, right? You understand the situation. And he felt tongue tied. One can't discuss these things with one's father. මෙයා තාත්තට එක කියන්න පුළුවන් කතා නෙවෙයිනේ, right? තාත්තට මේව කියන්න පුළුවන් බෑනේ. Father no with one's mother. අම්මට තාත්තට කියන්න බෑ. ඕවා ඕන දෙයක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. ඔය කතන්දර කියන්න බෑනේ. Just like even for a son, it's very දුවෙක් නම් තව මොකක් හරි වටෙන් ඥං හචම් පචම් ගාලා මොනවා හරි කොල්ලෙක් කියන්නේ ඕවා තාත්තට ඉස්සෙල්ලා, right? Just like, yeah. So that's what Jagan is suffering here, right? And definitely he can't say this to the mother. He was the determined student this year. And Jagan was determined, means Jagan made a resolution. කොහොම හරි එක්සෑම් එක ගොඩ දා ගන්නවා කියලා හිත හදාගෙන වැඩේට බහින්න හදපු අවුරුද්දක්. අනේ මෙන්න නිවාඩු දාන්න. right? බබාලා හම්බෙන්න ප්‍රේ කරන්න එක්කලා යන හදන්නේ, right? Having made up his mind to pass his BA in order to prove the husbandhood was quite compatible with scholarship, and he wanted to prove the idea that husbandship is compatible with like his husbandhood. I mean, like, there's no problem one to be married and one to study. He wanted to prove that to his parents as well. And what do you think? Is a husbandhood a barrier to studying? Do you think so? Is it getting married hard to further education? Yeah, that's an interesting question. Here it's kind of different, but still, Jagan wants to prove that his husbandhood was compatible with his scholarship. I mean, like, even being husband is okay just to do good in exams, right? That would at least prevent people from blaming his wife or for his failure. So that will explain this thing. Whenever the results came out, he had failed. There were pointed reference within Ambika's hearing, so that the moment the bedroom door was shut, she would say, "Why don't you pick up your books and go away to a hostel?" Whenever the results came out and he had failed, there were pointed reference within Ambika's hearing. I mean, like, whenever he failed the exam, the part of the blame comes to Ambika as well, right? Even it's not Ambika's fault. Actually, it's Jagan's fault. He's not concentrating enough. You can't just know after 10 years of marriage, right? I mean, like, you can't point it to Ambika anymore. But anyway, part of the blame comes to Ambika. So Ambika suggests, so that why don't you pick up your books and go away to a hostel? Go to a separate place. Go to a hostel and do your studies. Your mother seems to think I am always lying in your lap and preventing you from touching your books. ඔයාලගේ අම්මා හිතන් ඉන්නේ හැමදාම තිස්සෙම මම ඔයාගේ තුරුල්ලේ ඉඳන් ඔයාගේ තුරුල්ලේ නැලවි ඉන්නවා ඒකින්ද ඔයා පොත් පාඩම් කරන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. That's what Ambika just make an accusation, right? Just go to a hostel. Just save me from this blame. In other words, Ambika is telling. She looked so outraged that he felt like mitigating the seriousness with a joke of his own brand. When he felt like in these instances, Ambika is really angry when he faced the exam, right? So he makes a joke just to kind of mitigate or recede or just reduce this intensity. With a joke of his own brand, means a joke of his own way. I have been failing it because I don't believe education is important. That is all. I fail these exams because I don't concentrate on these things and I don't think education is important. That's all. That's why I fail these things, these exams. He says casually, right? Then Ambika replies, "Your mother remarked that being uneducated myself, I want to drag you down to my own level." That's what your mother thinks. Your mother thinks because I am also uneducated, because she doesn't have a degree, she's not educated. Mother-in-law kind of complains sometimes. මේ ලේලි උගත් නැති හින්දා ලේලිට ඕන අපේ කොල්ලත් අර ගොන් ගස් ගොඩට එකතු කරගන්න. අපේ කොල්ලත් ගොන් ගහක් වෙනවා දකින්න තමයි මේ ලේලිට ඕන. Right? Something like that. On my own level. Why don't you put your fingers onto ears whenever mother talks in that strain? I mean, like Jagan asked, why don't you put your hands into your ears? Why don't you close your ears when the mother is talking like that? Don't listen to this stuff. Jagan instruct, right? In strain means in a kind of a such as tense words. And then Ambika asked, why don't you use your intelligence and pass your examinations? මම කංගල ඇගිලියන්නේ. තමසි ගොළුව පාවිච්චි කරලා විභාගේ පාස් වෙනවා ගෝයි. වැඩි ඉවරයි. Just like, why don't you use your intelligence to pass your examinations? Ask the wife, right? කංගල ඇගිලි ගහගන්නේ මොකද? Right? And then Jagan said, yes, that's also a good idea. Yeah, that is also a good idea. And applied himself to the task with all his might. So he made a resolution. Okay, I'm going to pass the exam. I'm going to make this. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And he made a resolution. He can pass the exam. He's now going to study. Ready to buy another. He never arrived late for this class. Now he's on time on the class. Never missed a lesson. And he is so focused now. Never missing a lesson. When the panthi cut karla, then just never missed a lesson, right? Right, Mr. Lesson, and drew up a general chart of subjects and a working timetable. He has made a timetable and a chart of working. God, what improvement, right? He has made a timetable just to allocate the time for studies. He sat at his desk and studied far into the night. Now this guy is studying to the night, far into the night. Into his nicely readjusted life, his father came crashing with his plans for visiting a temple. And now when he's so motivated, highly motivated, motivation එකේ peak එකේ ඉන්න වෙලාවේ උපරිම motivate වෙලා ඉන්න වෙලාවේ තාත්තා කියා අපි දාපිය දවස් දෙකක් නිවාඩු ඉස්කෝලේ. And young පන්සල් මොකටද? බබාලා හම්බෙන්න පූජාවක් කරනවා. Right? Jagan pleaded. Jagan asked, pleaded, beseeched. Can't we go after the examinations? Shall we go after the examinations, father? His father glared at him, said, gave that stare, gave that look, fatherly look, right? Stare. And said, we have waited long enough. We have waited long. And then feeling that he sounded too commanding, added, and father also added, because he felt like father felt he's too commanding. This is the only month when we can go up the hill. See, this is the only month we can go to that Badri hill. If the rain starts, we shan't be able to get there. If the rain season starts, it's very hard to go to the top of the Badri hill. Full of leeches and such things. Leeches are there. And such obstacles are there. It's hard. 10 months in the year it's raining up there. This is a faraway place and it's a place where it's constantly raining. 10 months. So there are only 2 months left. Even then when it comes to visiting, there's 1 month. Imagine, are there places like that? How about the Adams Peak? Are people traveling to Adams Peak at all the time of a certain year? No, there's a season for that. Siripada Samaya කියලා එකක් තියෙනවනේ. Timbo Samaya. හැමදාම යන්න බැරිද? No, there are issues, right? Sometimes it's like wild animals are passing. Sometimes it's certain issue. Rain is there, is another issue. The climate is another issue. Sometimes it's extremely cold. You'll almost freeze because it's higher from the sea levels, right? You feel uncomfortable. So there are seasons. It's the same way, but here for different reasons. In the Badri Hill, there are its own reasons. There's a season for that, right? Just to travel. So there's no option. Jagan can't prolong it or delay it or procrastinate it. The base of the hill had to be reached by bus. The base of the hill, just like in Siripad, right? You can take a bus and you can go to the base of the hill, the bottom of the hill. From that, you have to walk. The base of the hill had to be reached by bus. The party consisted of Jagan, who are the travelers now, Jagan, Ambika, father and mother, four of them. He felt touched by his father's solicitude. Write down, underline solicitude. A feeling of excessive concern. Feeling of excessive concern. Very concerned. Father is very concerned about Jagan. Jagan feel happy about it, right? Jagan. He felt touched. Means he felt emotional about it. In a way, content about it, happy about it, touched by his father's concern, solicitude, offering to climb the hill at his age. Now our father is old and just being resolute just to go to Badri Hill behalf of his son to pray to gods, just to bless them with a child. See, at this age, father is willing to go there, was such a solicitude for Jagan, right? I mean, like, that solicitude is such a concern for Jagan. He's feeling good about it. His mother looked extraordinarily pleased at reaching the solution, at least for the barrenness of her daughter-in-law. Right. Mother was also happy, and she always thinks it's the barrenness of the daughter-in-law. See, father also said that thing. Mother also said that thing. They are not anticipating, they are not at all ready to believe that maybe this is a partly responsibility of Jagan as well. Maybe Jagan is barren. We don't know for sure, right? Whether it's Jagan's problem or Ambika's problem. It's not clear at all. For some reason, they are not, I mean, like, they haven't conceived. Ambika has conceived. So, Jagan's father, as well as especially mother thinks, is the fall of Ambika. Like, barrenness of Ambika. That's the reason. She kept on saying, mother kept on saying, good things only come with time. Otherwise, why would I not have thought of all this earlier? Least year of, for instance, right? So yes, Ambika's mother-in-law says, Jagan's mother, in other words, yeah, ඔක්කොම වෙන්නේ හරි වෙලාවට. Right? Everything comes with time. Unless I could have come with the solution some years ago, why didn't this idea come to my mind? Because it waited for the right time just to happen. Otherwise, why would I not have thought of this earlier? Yeah, unless this idea should have come to me very earlier, just to be here. Least a year, for instance, right? I mean, like, at least 1 year before. She was bawling over, bawling is crying, loud cries, bellowing, bawling over the noise of the bus as they occupied a long seat, clutching the little bundles. I mean, like, they are now traveling in a bus to the foot of the Badri hill. It's a bus journey. Now, all of them are in the bus. Clutching the little bundles means they are taking bundles, some belongings, right? Podi bendegena, malu podi bendegena yanne. Podi gamunagut neve, right? That's why 2 days applying leave means it's a kind of a distance, right? Ambika felt a little shy. Ambika is feeling a little shy here, right? When the mother is talking about these issues like babies and Some other woman in the bus asked across the aisle, where are you going? Just like some other women also ask you because they are strangers, right? And look from outsiders, some other place, and they ask like, where are you guys going? Right?